I'm a money magnet. I'm like, the money gonna just come to me. Like, you know, it's like this. But now the problem I've had is I'm not the best with my money.
Okay.
Because I'd be like, YOLO. Only live once, so you gotta do it.
Hello, I'm Kelley O'Hara, and this is 1v1 presented by RBC Wealth Management. Today, I'm joined by 4-time Olympic gold medalist,
Say that.
5-time world champion, and the American record holder in the 400 meter, Sanya Richards-Ross. Welcome.
Woo!
Look
Hey,
at us.
Kelly, look at us.
Look at us.
I mean, literally, look at us.
You guys, we are matching in jumpsuits.
Yeah, like, and I never wear jumpsuits.
Yeah.
And I show up and I'm thinking I'm gonna be one of one, and I'm one of two. This is hilarious. This is perfect. This means the energy is about to be so perfect.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm so thankful
Thank you for
to
coming
take the
to
time.
Atlanta to see me. I appreciate
Of course,
that.
it's like my second home. So, I mean, hometown, second home, you
Yeah.
know. But I'm excited to talk to you today because you're the first athlete that I've talked to that isn't a team sport athlete.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to hear about if it was similar or different going through retirement, that sort of thing. And, you know, the purpose of this conversation is going and talking about the lead up to that moment, realizing what it felt like emotionally to make that decision, to go through the transition, and then, you know, what it's been like post competing. So I'm just going to start off right from the bat. Like when you started competing professionally, did you ever think about retirement? Like, did you have a timeline in your head?
No.
Okay.
No.
Everybody said that. It's so funny.
Yeah. So I actually started running when I was 7.
Yeah. Okay.
And by the time I was 9, I told my teacher I was going to be an Olympic champion.
Did you?
So I knew
Look at
early
you.
on.
You knew. That's so funny.
Yeah. Because I was born in Jamaica, where track and field is the most popular sport. And so I think because it was all around me, I just felt like, and the country literally would shut down to watch the Olympics.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I want to be that girl.
You want to do that.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it just all worked out that, you know, I was blessed. And I got good genes.
Realize
and I could really run.
Oh my gosh.
And so, you know, so I had this dream as a young girl, and I went to my first Olympics my sophomore year in college. Yeah. And I just thought I was going to run forever. You know,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I thought I was going to do it forever. Like, I had no thought of retirement until it was right upon me. But I will say, unlike most, I did truly prepare for my retirement.
Smart.
I did.
Okay, and we're going to get into that. And I think that's like so important because when I started playing, I was the same. I was like, didn't even cross my mind. Yeah. You know, you have the older players on your team talking about, oh, enjoy now, you're gonna be tired, you're gonna have to stretch before practice, you know, like it's gonna get harder.
Right.
But when you start out and you're so young, it's not really something that crosses your mind. And for me, I very much so, when I started playing, I didn't want to do anything besides play soccer because I didn't want people to think I wasn't focused on soccer.
That's true.
So
a lot of athletes have that. Yep.
So how'd you handle that?
I was the same way.
Okay.
Until the last couple years of my career, I think it was an old school kind of way of thinking. I think the world has changed, not for everyone, including athletes. And I think that people are more accepting of even the most elite athletes exploring 100%. And seeing all of who they were. But when especially I, because I don't know, but
slightly.
when I was competing, it was like eat, sleep, breathe, track and field.
Yeah.
You know, because that was a part of showing your coaches and everyone around you, your sponsors, that you were focused. And so, yeah, you know, up until the last couple of years of my career, I was the exact same way. I did nothing else but focus on being the very best, the most elite, winning championships, breaking records, and that was it. Yeah.
So at what point did that shift in your mind?
Yeah. So I was like you. I was struggling with injury.
Okay.
And so I had a toe injury almost like starting in high school.
Okay.
That I didn't realize was, so like when I won the Olympics in 2012, Kelley, I ran on a broken toe. Literally. A broken big toe.
What?
Yeah.
Gold medal.
Yeah, on a broken toe. And I'm grateful that I didn't, because the doctors kept saying, oh, it's an easy surgery. We'll just shave it down, give you some space. I'm happy I didn't do it before 2012 because after the surgery, I was never the same.
Really?
Yeah, the doctor like screwed my toe up like really bad. Like it was, I thought I was at a 10 on pain already. I got to like 100.
No.
It was insane. And can you imagine your big toe as a sprinter? Like
you're literally running on your toes.
Literally, like and the big
that
one
is sprinting.
Yes, it was like, so it was awful. So I had my first surgery, terrible, couldn't come back in 2013. Had a second surgery in 2014, finally started to recover, back to world number 1, feeling like myself, had a freak accident on an airplane. I'm literally sleeping in business class, laid out, someone steps over my foot, no need to because there's space, and breaks my toe.
You're kidding.
Again, yep, I had a screw in it, boom, breaks it. I'm like, scream. It was awful.
And how long's the flight?
It was like an 8-hour flight over to London. And so I had to jump off that, go back to another like emergency kind of, I didn't have surgery in London. They just kind of helped me. And then I had a third surgery. So then after my third surgery, that's when I was like, okay, I can't do this forever. Right. It's like that moment where you also too were like, why am I still doing, like, it's like, like the joy of my life is more important than, like having a normal life is more important than chasing medals and
100%.
records. And so in 2016, I had decided this was going to be my final season, no matter what happened. Because after my third surgery, I'm like, if I make the team, I'm done. If I don't make the team, I'm done.
And how long did it take you to make that decision?
I would say about 4 years. It took
really?
me like 3 years. Yeah. So it was 3 years.
So you started to think about it.
I started thinking about it 3 years. 2013, I was like, okay, this is starting to feel like I'm getting close to the end of my career. And so 2014, 2015, like I told you, I was kind of recovering. I finally got back to myself in 2014. I'm like, okay, I could probably extend it.
Yeah.
But I started to think about it in 2013 because the pain was just so much. I was like, how much of this can I take?
No, it makes sense.
You know what I mean? And so I remember in 2016 in particular, when I really said, okay, this is it. And I made the announcement, this is my final year. I said a prayer every single day. And my prayer was, I said, thank you, God, for this incredible gift that has allowed me to travel the world and to do what I love to do. But God, after the season, I'm giving that gift back to you. But I ask you to leave all of the good things with me, all of the lessons, like all of the good experiences. And that's really, I'm not, I don't want to get emotional, but that's how I was able to kind of mentally start to say, okay, like this was a gift, and not all blessings last a lifetime. We all know you can't run at this level forever. Like it's inevitable. The greatest have to retire. Yeah. Right. And so I just kept saying that prayer, and I'm like, I'm so much more than an athlete. And I really, the whole 2016, I talked myself through the process. And when it was time to walk away, I felt like I was ready.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. And I love that prayer. Yeah. I feel like that probably gave you so much peace.
Yeah,
it
did.
To like get there.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah. How did you go about, like, did you talk to people? Yeah. Did you kind of lean on anybody to help make the decision?
So yes, I think, so my husband is Aaron Ross. And so he was also an elite athlete, played for the New York Giants for, 10 seasons. And won 2 Super Bowl rings, and actually retired 2 years before me.
Okay, so you would a front row seat to somebody going through that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but you know what? And you bring up this point though about an individual sport and a team sport. Yeah. And also just the differences in our sports. So my husband was actually kind of forced to retire. Okay. And so that was a huge challenge for him, Kelley. Like literally, when I talk about seeing someone go through, like he was so depressed. And a lot of people don't talk about that, but when you're an athlete, you give your life to something for 15, 20 plus years, and then it just has to come to an end while you still feel like you're in your prime.
Exactly. And you probably still love it. Like you still want to do it.
You still feel like you have a lot to give potentially. Yeah. And so I think watching him actually helped me a lot, because I was like, okay, like this is going to be hard. Like, this is not something I can take lightly. I got to make sure when I do this, I'm really ready. Mm-hmm. And so I think that seeing him, being able to talk to him about it really helped me. I had other friends too because I competed for 13 years, so I saw a lot of people come and go. And I saw a lot of them really struggle with the transition. And so I was like, okay, what is it that I want to do that I think will help to set me up, that will help me feel like this transition is not a failure. Mm-hmm. I'm actually moving on to something where I could be equally as great and find equal fulfillment in it. And so, it was a process. I also had a sports psychologist that I worked with, like from 2009 through 2016. And I talked to him a lot too about my transition. And he helped me, you know, just to put it in perspective, because I had gotten so much joy from it. Yeah. So it wasn't it was literally like for me now, like what's next, and I saw it as a positive thing. And I think that really helped.
Do you feel like you had examples of other track athletes that had retired and you wanted to emulate, or were you like, no, I am going to be my own thing and not really blaze my own trail? Yeah, it's a really good question. And I hope that a lot of track athletes see, because honestly, I was like, what do I do next? Yeah. Really, what do I do next? What is it? Who before me has done anything that I want to do? Yeah. And there are very few examples of track and field greats
who have, I mean, a lot of them go on to coach and
Okay.
do great things in coaching, which I admire, I respect. I just always knew
That wasn't
coaching was not for me.
that wasn't your journey.
Hey, that's not my ministry. I don't have the patience.
Yeah, no.
And I think you have to have so much
funny.
patience, and you have to have like such a huge commitment. And I was like, that ain't it.
Yeah.
So that, you know, and then it's like, okay, outside of that, what? Like, what do you do next? And so I literally, when I was planning like my next phase, I'm like, I'm gonna do this to show them that they can do anything that they want to do. I have this saying that greatness is not fleeting. It lives within us. If you've been great in one thing, you can be great in something else.
I like that.
It lives in us.
I'm taking that with me.
It lives in you, baby.
I'm gonna remember that.
So no, there weren't a lot of examples. And so I remember when I ran my last race, right? So in 2016, I'm at the Olympic trials.
Okay.
I had my third surgery, like I told you. My toe was not rebounding as well as I had hoped. And so I actually pulled my hamstring muscle probably about 3 weeks prior to the Olympic trials. So I couldn't really train at a high level, but there was no way I wasn't going to go to Olympic trials. I knew it was going to be my last one.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and you know how we are as athletes, you still feel like, if I get top 3, I can still go.
100%. You're like,
You know?
I gotta at least try.
Yeah, I gotta try. So I get on the track and I am in the first round of the Olympic trials, and I'm in lane 2, which is it's a random lane, so it's a tough lane to run with an injury, with a bad toe. So I get out, and it's the first race of my career that I don't finish. I get to the 200-meter mark and I just don't have it. Like my legs are done, and so I'm like on the track. I hang my head down because I'm like, shit, like my last race, and I'm like, it's all like coming, like I'm not going to the Olympics, my first time trying out for a team and not making it, like all these things, and I'm like really emotional. And literally I'm at Hayward Field, which is like the track capital of the United States, and everyone stands to their feet and they just start giving me a standing ovation, right? And it was like the sweetest, because they all knew, because everybody knew it was my farewell tour, and they, you know, the track fans in Eugene are like, know the sport, they know us. And it was like this sweet, like just embrace and hug from people who have watched and supported my career the whole time. And so I'm, you know, embracing the moment now and come back. And I remember my now colleague, Lewis Johnson, comes up to me. He's like, Sanya, you were so great on the track. What will you do next? And I was ready. I said,
Oh, you got it.
I'm telling you, for a whole year I had been thinking.
Okay.
I had been
love
praying.
that.
I had been prepping.
I love that.
And so when he asked me the question, and it wasn't like planned, it just was in me. So I knew. And so I said to him, I want to become a mom. I want to write a book. And I want to start commentating.
Okay.
And so literally the next day, NBC called me. And they were like, were you serious? Like, would you?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I started commentating too. I said, give me a day to like get over my, you know, the loss of going to the Olympics. And I started commentating the next day, and I ended up in Rio as a commentator instead of as an athlete. And now I've done 3 Olympics as a commentator. And so I think for me, that helped a lot with my transition, because I still felt like I was a part of my sport, just now in a unique and different way that I actually love.
Yeah.
Because I get to share my enthusiasm, and I get to share all the things that I know. And I think people really hear that and love that. And so that helps a lot. But it also was a constant reminder to me about preparing for transitions, speaking the things that you want, like not being fearful about saying them out loud, because you never know who's listening. And it's just really been like a wonderful journey for me. Post, you know, I got the baby, like my husband, but my husband couldn't wait, Kelley, for me to come through that door. He was like,
I heard what you said on television. You said it publicly.
So we had a baby the very next year. I wrote 3 books and I started commentating.
Oh my gosh, talk about speaking it into existence. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So when you started thinking about retirement and like being like, it's gonna end.
Yeah.
How did you know those were the things you wanted to do?
So another great question. And I think that's something I tell a lot of young athletes now, is that we have such a unique set of experiences doing what we do. We meet a lot of really cool people. We just a lot of times aren't paying attention because we're so focused on playing, right? And competing. And so I tell people, like, pick your head up, look around. Like you're meeting publishers, you're meeting all these people. Yeah. It's just that you're not really paying attention. And so the last couple of years of my career, I started to like pay attention. And I was like, what am I good at? Like, you know, like I love, as athletes, I think a lot of us like being the center of attention. So I knew I love television. I love, I really love that. Of course I love family. Like the only reason I'm successful is because of my family. Like my mom and dad are the best. My sister, they supported me throughout my career. So I always know I wanted to have a family. So that was the easy one. Writing the book was kind of, for me, I always thought, because I don't have the best memory, which I think is good for athletes because you forget the failures quickly.
That's so true.
But I was like, I'm ending a huge chapter of my life and I don't want to forget it. So I want to write about it now.
You run your last race.
Yeah.
And obviously you at the starting blocks didn't realize it was going to be your last.
No, I was hoping to get all the way to the damn finals.
Exactly. I go to the Olympics.
Yeah, go to the Olympics. Yeah.
So, you already kind of touched on how beautiful of a moment that was for the crowd to give you a standing ovation, which I can just imagine.
Yeah, it was really emotional.
Yeah. Feels so many things in that moment.
Yeah.
How did you feel the next morning?
Yeah, it was hard the next morning. That's why I told NBC to give me a day or two, because I was still like,
They call you at 9 a.m.
Yeah, right.
Like, call me
gone. Yeah, exactly. It still hurt. It still felt like the loss of a dream, like it still felt like I was mourning. Because, as for me, I did a lot of visualization when I was an athlete. So I would literally see myself on that track winning the gold medal. And so when it's like you said, there was a lot of emotions in the moment of like being on the track, the fans embracing me, not making it to the finish line, not seeing my name on the start list for the next day, all of those things. But then when you wake up the next morning, it's real. Like, I don't go to the track. I don't get to do the warm up. I don't get to be on the track
ever again.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I ever got into a state of depression, because I didn't.
Okay.
But I was really sad.
Yeah.
Because it didn't end the way I wanted. So I think every athlete like wants to go out like on top. Like, you want to have that Kobe, MJ, those moments where it's like, no one will forget that. But
I feel like the reality is most athletes were all like, okay,
because you wait too damn long.
Yeah. Abby's last game with U.S. Women's National Team was a loss, and we hadn't lost in a long time.
Yeah.
We lost to China. Lisa's last game was a loss. You didn't finish your race.
Yeah.
The last thing I did in my national team jersey was take a PK that missed. Like at a World Cup. And it's just like, us as athletes, we want the glory, we want the highlight, but the reality is it doesn't
for most
go that way, which it's, I guess, hard to swallow, but at the same time, it's like, that's life, man.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. At what point did it sink in that you weren't
going as
a track athlete anymore?
It took me a long time. Like I didn't, and I think it's okay. Like I didn't let go of that very important part of who I was, because even now, like I do a lot of things, I still love that people remember me most as an Olympic champion.
For sure.
Because I worked really hard for that.
Yeah, and you will always be that.
And I'll always
you'll
be that.
always be an athlete.
Yeah,
like
and
truly to your core.
Exactly. So I think it takes time to like fully say, okay, I'm not that athlete anymore. My body tells me all the time I'm not.
Being successful can look different on and off the track or field for me. Our sponsor, RBC Wealth Management, encourages people to define what success means to them to build towards the right goals. What does success look like to you right now today?
That's a good question. Success for me, I think there's kind of two ways I'd break it down. Like in this most plain, simple form for me is like, my kids are happy, it's like my baby has had a good day. He's, fed, he's in the bed. My eldest son is like, doing well at school and all those things. And I take a lot of joy from my family being happy. So for me, that's at the very basic level success. It's like, how do I keep the Ross gang happy? And then I think big picture, for me, success looks like walking in the fullness of my purpose and who I am. And so I always try to find ways to make that a reality for me. So I'm the kind of person who I prioritize. So my family comes first and everything else comes next. But when I'm doing the things I feel like I'm called to do, which is to continue to be a positive influence in the world and to be creative and to grow businesses and all this kind of stuff, when I feel like I'm doing that at the highest level, I feel like I'm the best version of myself. Yeah. And for me, that's what success looks like.
I love that.
It's like I'm feeling like, yes, I'm clicking on all cylinders. I'm doing, and it's not about money for me. It's not about, it's all about like, did I give my best? Yeah. Am I not letting fear and all those things keep me back from trying something new or doing this thing that I feel like God placed in my heart? Like I'm just going for it and and being the best that I can be. And that's my definition of success.
I love that. Yeah. Obviously we talked about the emotional and like mental preparation. Yeah. And you've touched on also preparing for what you were going to do next. Yeah. I want to talk about like how you were paid as a track athlete, because you were, you made money based on contracts and like winning competitions. Right. As opposed to as a team athlete, you're with a team. Right. And you also have your sponsorships, but I'm just curious how, you handled being like, this is the way I'm making money now. And then how am I going to have a livelihood, which you obviously were like, I'm going to commentate, I'm going to write books, but because I know that you did a lot of advocation for Rule of 40 or basically against Rule of 40. So I just want to hear your thoughts on like how you handled finances while you were running and then like how you transitioned to after.
Yes.
You know?
Great questions. So, you know, like you said, okay, so as an individual athlete, I made my money from sponsors. So Nike actually still, so wonderful story. Like Nike and I have been brand partners now for 20 years.
Amazing.
I am one of the few athletes that they kept on post competition because most athletes, their deal, once they're done running, it's over.
Yeah, that's huge.
But I actually proposed to them because like I told you, I was really preparing. I was like, look, a sister got to keep this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This way of life.
So I said, I'm like, look, I think I could be more valuable to you guys now than I was when I was competing because they would ask me to do all this stuff and I couldn't. I was training. I'm like, nah, I'll be free as a bird. You know?
I got the
time. Yeah. So, and they're like, okay, we'll try it out. And it's been, so I retired. So it's been 8 years strong and they're renewing my contract again.
Amazing.
And so, you know, so yes, I got paid through those. Obviously you get paid to show up to competitions, you get appearance fees, all that kind of stuff. And I would say in my time, I was probably one of the highest paid female athletes. And so I like to think of myself. I'm a manifester. Like I think
I can tell.
Like
I can tell.
I'm a money magnet. I'm like the money gonna just come to me. Like, you know, it's like this. You know,
let me let it wear off on me. Okay, all right.
You got it.
Great.
But now the problem I've had is I'm not the best with my money.
Okay.
Because I'd be like YOLO. Only live once, so you gotta do it. So thank God for my husband.
Okay.
Because he's the one who was like, look, girl, we don't want to be poor now. You know, it's one thing to make it, but we can't spend everything you make.
Gotta save.
So you gotta save. So he was, thank God, the one that kind of did that. But now, to be honest, like I have years where I'm making more money than I made running, you know, and I have opportunities now and I do a lot. I wouldn't say it's less work. It's different work. It's
100%.
It feels like less because it's not the physical.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like some days I think to myself, I'm like, I used to be out in 100-degree weather, running repeat 200s. I'm like, I must have been crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was crazy. I just
You
wanted
loved
to be
it.
great. Yeah, I loved it. But now, so it's like, you know, I'm the kind of person who I just see opportunities. I see that there's, you know, abundance. So I never felt scared about making the transition with finances. I have gotten better with my finances over time. And I think for me, what has really grounded me has been my children. Because I think that I always tell myself, I don't want the best time of my financial life to have been before they were born. So now I'm like, okay, how do I, you know, plan for their future? I want them to have every opportunity and have all the resources that they need.
Yeah.
So they truly have helped me to start saving and to start doing all the right things financially. But back in the day, child. Where's the purse?
We were having fun. Saving? Who's she? Oh my gosh.
Right.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
All right. I want to talk about commentating.
Yes.
Because you went from thinking you were going to compete in Rio 2016 and then you were commentating.
Yes.
Had you done it before? How were you able to make that transition so seamlessly?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I mean, I've been listening to you since then, and you're one of the best, I think, to do it. And I really enjoy listening to you when you're commentating on track. So how did you do that?
Yeah, so I'll give a lot of credit to my co-analyst, Otto Bolden.
Okay.
So when I was thrown up there, literally 2 days after I didn't make the team, they were just like, talk about, you know, what you used to do. Like, you know, and I'm like, okay.
I feel like networks do that. They're like, you did it over there. You did it on the field. So
tell
just
the folks
do
what
it
you
in
used
the
to do.
booth. Yeah.
Because there's no training, nothing.
Yeah,
Just go up there. But what, so Tom Hammond, who is one of the best to do it, was my first host or like, what do they call them? Like the play-by-play.
Okay.
And then Otto was a lead analyst. And so what they did really was they kind of almost interview styled me in most of it. So it was kind of like where, you know, so I wasn't necessarily doing like the hardcore, like this is Kelley O'Hara in this lane. You know what I mean? So they kind of helped me to just be, okay, cool. Like this is just like doing an interview. Yeah. And so at the trials, I did a lot of that where it was just like, so Sanya, how would you, you know, and then I would just talk like that. Then I was like, okay, cool. And then I would see what they were doing because we have really good researchers who would give us information. And so you just got to digest some facts on the person and then just spit that out. So I think it was, I do credit my team a lot because they made it very easy for me in the beginning. And then I figured it out. It's like, okay, you have, I got 10 seconds. What is the most compelling thing about this person? And I made 2 commitments to myself. I said, 1, because I remember when people would commentate on me, the things I didn't like. And so I tried to be fair to athletes and always keep things positive.
Yeah.
Like I remember in 2008 when I lost the Olympics, that was the only race I lost all year. I was undefeated, favored to win gold. It was the biggest upset of the Olympics in track and field. And every race for like 2 years, they'd be like, and she won. And I'm like, damn, do we have to always lead with the fact that I didn't win it in Beijing? So I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. I want to always try to spin even a failure positive for the athletes.
I think that's amazing.
And thank you. And I also want to tell something about them that people might not know. So I'm not the person who's like hardcore, like, oh, they ran 12.5 or whatever. It's like, oh, this person just graduated, or, so I try to talk to them. COVID made it a little bit hard because now there's more restrictions. Before you used to go down in there and be in there. After COVID, it's been a little bit tighter. So sometimes I don't get to do as much hands-on research, but those are my commitments. It's like, how can I tell the viewer something they may not have ever heard as opposed to a stat? And how can I spin their stories to make, when they hear it, it's positive for them too. And I don't always get it right. And it's not always possible because sometimes you got to just call it the way you see it, right? Because I serve the audience. I'm not serving that one athlete, but I do try to keep that consciousness. Like, okay, how would I want someone to talk about me had I, and it's not really necessarily a failure, like a bronze is still pretty good, but, but how do I do it in a way that serves both of them? So it's been a lot of fun. And it's actually one of my favorite things to do because my team is so good. Like we love being around each other. Like the Olympics were like, even though we're there for hours and hours, it's like we're all friends. So it makes it a really cool experience.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I love that advice. I think that's so important. And I've thought about that too, because I think that athletes, we don't realize how hard it is to commentate when you're playing, when you're competing. And then you get into that and you're like, oh, this is really difficult. You really got to be on it. And it takes a lot of effort. Okay, out of all the things you've done post running, what's your favorite?
Done so many fun things. Oh.
Okay, where does Housewives
fall on that scale?
Yeah, I want to know. And how did that happen? Give it to me.
I got you.
Okay.
So
did you ever imagine that you would be?
I kind of did.
Okay. You manifested it, obviously.
Yeah. It's so funny. My mom thinks I'm the craziest person because she's like, everything you say happens. Like what? Can you please give us the lottery numbers? Like you manifest everything else. Get us the tickets. When it's at $1 billion, what is the problem?
Give mom the lottery.
Don't work for the numbers for some reason. But it's so when I moved here, I was like, I'm gonna end up on Housewives, and everybody was like, girl, and I was like, I just know I am. I'm like, I don't feel like it's really possible, but I just literally said it would happen. Yeah. Anyway, so it's funny. They reached out to me, and when they reached out, I actually wasn't full time living here yet. I still had my home in Austin, and I was just here in a townhouse working on another show. Okay. I was working on I actually love that show. Central Avenue was fantastic. And so they reached out, and the first time they reached out, I was like, I'm not, and I don't have a home here. So it was actually the next season they reached out again, and I was like, oh, and I'm the kind of person too. One, I'll try anything once.
Okay, I love that.
And I also say yes to life. So I feel like when things are kind of pressing, I'm like, there must be a reason I should do this. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'll do it. So we got a home real quickly. I had begged my family to come to Atlanta because I love my family so much. And I was like, we can just all live together in one big house. If you guys like it, stay. If not, go. Yeah. COVID kind of taught us that. Yes, for sure. Because like when COVID happened, I was always at my mom's house. Yeah. And it's like, we have 3 houses. Why are we always over here? So I was like, this could all work. Anyways, we can talk about that later. But so I was my Housewives experience, I think there were a lot of pros, but there were also some real cons.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I think I grew a lot as a woman from that show because you learn to find your voice very quickly in that kind of environment. And I really loved the experience of being with women, all that kind of stuff. What was hard was the fans, I thought that sports fans could be brutal. Oh, but the Housewife franchise, baby, I hadn't seen anything yet. But track and field prepared me for it. So I would say, I wouldn't say it was my favorite job. Okay. Only because of that. Because it was a lot of off the camera stuff that you have to deal with. And so that made it very tricky for me because I like peace. Yeah. I like peace. Like I'm a well-intentioned person. So no matter what they saw on the show, it was always with good intentions. I'm not like a messy person or anything like that. But it can be spun to look anyway. I've learned afterwards. Like I'm like, it
is produced.
Okay. I guess if you show my face after I said, and then it might look like I was, you know.
My God.
But anyway, it was I count it all as a positive experience.
Yeah.
But I would probably say my favorite job. I love working with Nike because of all the stuff that I get to do. Like it's like I could one minute I'm talking to kids, the next minute I'm in, Paris listening to Serena, or like, it's like just all this, like, it's like the breadth of what I get to do with them is so great. I love commentating because I just love giving back to my sport in that way, and people love to hear me. So it's like always a positive experience for me.
Yeah.
But I also love being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like my husband and I are now doing a pajama company.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
I love PJs.
yes,
What's the vibe?
So my husband and I have always wanted to go into business together, and we're like, what are we going to do that feels very authentic to where we are in our lives right now? Okay. And this,
you're like, we spend a lot of time in PJs.
Almost. But no, so ultimately, like I love coordinating my family. So it's like my love language. Like I feel like
That's
when we,
so cute.
yeah, like I'm all, like wherever we go, we are in, like, that's the Ross gang, because we either all got on the Browns or something tying us together.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Christmas for me is a big time of the year. People love coordinated pajamas.
The biggest time of the year for coordinated pajamas.
Exactly. And so I felt like, that the space could do with a little bit of like, new, fresh, because I felt like a lot of the designs felt like dated, like not a lot of change. So we launched our Christmas pajamas last year. They sold out. They did really well.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's called Coordinates.
Okay.
Shop Coordinates. Christmas is coming up. Back
It
up.
is. It's coming. It's fast approaching.
Yeah. And
so get on it because it will sell out.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're gonna be up. I think they come like in 3 weeks or so. So we're pre-ordering now. But anyway, so we launched that. It was great. And then we had the great idea. I was like, wait, I've been on so many teams. They've never given us pajamas. Sleep is such a great, important part of an athlete's success. Partner with Team USA, the official pajama parties of Team USA. Yeah, so we did. It was really quick because we're really 2028 is like our where we're gonna really hit it hard. They couldn't even believe that I was like, no, I want to do it for 2024. They're like, it's already 2024. I said, I want to do it now.
And I will say it out loud, and it will happen.
And it will happen. So we were, and it was great. Like I learned a lot about how we need to position it for 26 and 28.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm totally engulfed in like my husband and I are like figuring out the business. We have, it's a lot. Like, you have your manufacturers and the distribution and the shipping and the marketing. And so it's like so many great things happening. And I'll get on my soapbox again one more time. And I'm telling you this because you're retiring now, and I feel like there are lots of great things that you could do. But when we were going to launch the pajama line, right, we were going to be so tight to Christmas, and everybody was like, well, just wait. And I was like, no, I want to go now. Yeah. And a lot of the opportunities that came were from that collection. Like people, like the Target thing, like we wouldn't have gotten that. The team,
you would have still been waiting to launch your idea.
You just people always wait for the perfect. Do not wait for the perfect time. Just do it because you learn.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm happy I did the Christmas collection because the quality was just okay. So I was able to make some changes to the Team USA ones. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
And this new one will be fantastic because I learned.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yeah. So,
this is great advice. Truly.
So listen, we're kind of like best friends now, right?
We are, 100%.
Like we have the same style energy.
I know we do.
Like you're going, so you can hit me up anytime.
I know, trust me. That's what I've been telling everybody. Yeah. Like I've been leaning on so many people who have gone through this. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Truly, it means so much, and just like hearing from you, and I feel like you've done this so well.
Thank you.
And I feel like you've done this very gracefully.
Thank you very much.
Good on you. If you had any piece of advice for someone who's going through retirement or a big life transition, what would it be?
Not to be afraid.
Okay.
I think that everything that you have done in your life is preparing you for the next phase of your life. And so if you can, and you should, like stop and take a check of it. Like what did I learn? Like, what worked for me in these scenarios? Like what makes me feel like I'm at my best? Take all of those things and just apply it to the next thing. I actually now see my Olympic gold medal as the floor.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I plan to
You're like, that was just the beginning.
That's just like a springboard. Like I was at 3 feet, I'm going to 10.
Dang, I love that.
So it's like, I literally think it's about, like, I think people fear and they hold on to what's comfortable. They hold on to what they've always done for too long because they're afraid. And it's like, no, like the next chapter is going to be so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're going to take everything you've learned with you, and it's prepared you for the next chapter of your life. But it's not going to be easy, just like sports, right? Like you're going to have to put your 10,000 hours in. Just because you have a World Cup gold or Olympic gold, It might get you in the door.
Yeah, exactly.
But it ain't gonna keep you.
Yeah, you gotta put in the work.
You gotta put in the work.
Yeah.
But you're not afraid of that because you've done it before, and you know that you're capable of that. So I just think just not being afraid and just taking everything that you've learned, not being afraid to fail forward. But we gonna fail.
Okay.
When you fall in,
we're going face first.
Roll forward.
Protect the moneymaker, but face first.
Face first, and then get on up and try again.
All right. Well, if I'm feeling scared, I'm calling you.
Call me.
And I'm getting a little pep talk from you. I'm gonna learn how to manifest like you.
Yes.
So, listen, I appreciate this so much. Truly.
What a treat.
This was such a treat for me, and you're amazing and have done so many incredible things, and I feel like it's just the beginning for you. So you're quite the role model to look up to, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much. And good luck.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to what you do next.
Thank you. I appreciate that.